Good morning everybody. Welcome to this video. We are talking about conflict management skills. This is part of the Shore Up Your Life skill series. Conflict management. What's a conflict? Why do we have to manage it? And why there is a specific skill associated to it? We all want, every one of us, we want to be satisfied with ourselves, with our relationship or interaction with each other. We want every day to be a breeze. At home, at work and at the society. But when two parties work with each other, problems and disputes do happen. And then we are duty bound to work towards a solution for the same. We have to keep the personal and professional relationships well oiled so that it will function effectively, efficiently and for the mutual benefit. So, conflicts arise in different ways. They have to be managed. These two are facts. Now, what skills will help us to do that? Some of these might help: communication, negotiation, diplomacy, positivity, impartiality, patience, intuitiveness, ability to let go, calmness, being present, avoiding punishing, apologizing. These might help. Now, what are the causes of conflict? Main causes of conflict is ego. Everybody is sticking to their own point of view. Nobody willing to budge. Nobody willing to look at other person's point of view. Nobody willing to hear. Nobody willing to listen. Nobody willing to open your eyes. You are shut. You don't agree the glass is half full. You keep on arguing the glass is half empty. The conflict arises from the differences. Differences in culture, differences in attitude and aptitude, differences in the way you are brought up, the differences in your background, your education, your expertise, your friends, your society, your community. It depends on a hell lot of things. And these conflicts or differences could be small, could be large. Because all of us have our own needs and wants and emotions and feelings. And when these are at odds, it gives rise to a conflict. Most of us would disagree with each other, maybe on our values, maybe on the things that motivates us, maybe on our perception on something. Maybe we have a strong feeling about a particular thing, maybe a political idea. Maybe we have our own desires. And many times we don't even remember how the conflict arose, because we have been angry with each other for some time, fighting with each other, forgetting what we started the fight for. There is always a deep personal need in each of us, and unless and until that need is met, the conflict will never get resolved. The core of the problem is this need. But on the surface it appears very trivial. The need to feel safe, the need to feel secure, the need to feel self-respected, the need to feel valued, the need of importance. For example, children have various needs. Their needs are always in conflict with the needs of the parents. Parents want the child to be safe. The child wants to explore. This is what happens. There is a child, an adult in every one of us. And when our child comes out, if the adult of the other person comes out, there is a possibility of a conflict. What are the causes of conflict? Conflict is not just disagreement. Many times, if it is so, it is very helpful. Conflicts trigger strong emotions. And when it becomes emotions, it becomes personal. When it becomes personal, people take a stand, people take a position, and then people don't budge. Conflict continues to fester if it is ignored. Our perceptions influence our response. There is a hidden opportunity for growth, but nobody looks at it. One or both parties perceive a threat. That is why there is a conflict. The threat may not be real, but it's a perception. People are not comfortable with your emotions. People are not able to handle the stress. People are under pressure. People are worried that your well-being is threatened. People are bothered about their survival. So the conflict remains unresolved and this worry keeps growing. People do not necessarily go for an objective review of the facts. Our life's experiences, the culture, the values, the beliefs, all this gives us a particular point of view. But we don't tend to look at the objective view of the facts. We tend to look at the way we want to look at. How we handle the conflict builds trust. So a conflict that happened or conflict will happen is not an issue. The issue is how we handle it, because this is what will build trust. This is what will sustain the relationship. How we resolve the conflict will deepen the bond. How we survive the challenges will make the relationship be taken to greater heights. There are some responses to conflict which are unhealthy. There are some responses which are healthy. The unhealthy ones can lead to hurt feelings, disappointment, discomfort. The unhealthy responses cause irreparable rift. They cause resentments and they cause breakups. Be it in personal, between a husband and wife, a father and a son, a boss and a subordinate, a client and the company. It could be anywhere. Inability to recognize and respond to things as they are. Look at things as they are. Being explosive, being angry, being hurtful, being resentful. Causing rejection, isolation, shaming, abandonment or withdrawal of resources. Inability to compromise or see the other side of the coin. Avoiding facing the problem due to fear of loss of face or loss of the relationship. These are unhealthy responses. What are healthy responses? Empathize with the other person's viewpoint. Remain calm, not defensive, and respectful in the responses. Be ready to forgive and forget. Seek for a compromise. Do not seek to punish. Realize the realization that you are facing the issue head on. The understanding that you have to do this is the best way forward. So these healthy responses, your attempt to resolve, increases your understanding of the other person, the issue, it builds the trust, it strengthens the relationship, because it tells the world that you are avoiding the fight or flight mindset and you are trying to resolve. Do not step on the gas, heated, keyed up or overly emotional. Do not step on the brake, just as shut down or space out. Do not step on both, that is being tense and frozen. You are paralyzed, you are agitated. But you are paralyzed outside and agitated inside. That is where the issue is, because we find it difficult to resolve. What to do in case of a conflict? A very good question. Everybody should ask every now and then, because we don't know when and where we are having a conflict. We have to remain calm. We have to control our emotions and feelings. We have to control our reactions. We have to be receptive to the reaction of the other person. We have to try to understand the emotion and feelings of the other person. We have to be alert of the stimulant. What caused this response? Why am I getting angry? Why is the other person getting upset? Be alert of the stimulants and respect the differences of opinions. We are two different individuals. We are not clones. So we will definitely have two viewpoints. Try to read and interpret the verbal and non-verbal communication as accurately as possible. Pay attention. Listen to what is coming in, verbally and non-verbally. Look at the feelings that are being expressed. Separate the facts from the feelings, the chaff from the grain. Avoid disrespectful words. Attack the point, not the person. Look at the idea, not the individual. Be genuine. What are non-verbal communication and how they help the conflict resolution? By paying close attention to the other person's non-verbal signals, the body language, the facial expression, the posture, the gesture, the tone, the modulation, the speed. You can better understand what the person is really trying to say. If you just look at the literal meaning of the words he speaks, you may not be able to get to the point. Read and interpret what is coming in. Pay attention to the feelings. Look at what he is trying to say, not what he is actually saying. And don't try to respond and fight back and answer everything that he says. Give a listening, give a patient ear, listen. How do we manage conflicts? Conflicts have to be managed. Manage means to ensure that we ourselves and the other party is not getting affected, but we are getting better after the resolution. Listen for what is felt as well as what is said. Don't just hear the words, hear the cues. Make conflict resolution the priority. You just don't do it for the sake of doing it, not for your duty, not for feeling right, not for being right, not for looking right. Because it's a real priority, you are trying to do it. Focus on the present. What caused it, what happened yesterday, why somebody was doing that the day before yesterday. Forget all that. Look at present. How it is affected today. Why we need to resolve. how we are going to have a better tomorrow, how are we going to reach our objective on the day after. That is what we should be looking at. We should be willing to forgive, willing to forget, know when to let go. You should know when to let go. Sometimes letting go is the best thing to do, and you should learn to say no. Sometimes you need to say no. Yes, boss is not the best thing always. So how do we do this? How do we listen for what is felt, or how do we make resolution the priority than being right, etc.? You have to connect more deeply, connect deeply to the person. Don't look at the brain, look at the heart. Listen the heart. Rather than winning the argument, maintaining and strengthening the relationship should be the motive. Pick your battles wisely. Don't lose the battle. Don't win the battle and lose the war. Hold on to the grudges. Maybe based on what happened in the past, something may be wrong. But what you can do now and here is what you should look at, and that is what is right. Conflicts can be draining, so you have to let go. It is not worth fighting for a parking spot. No point if you are unwilling or unable to forgive. If you are going to keep in your mind the anger and just say with your lips that you are forgiven, it doesn't serve the purpose. The best way to manage a conflict is to avoid a conflict. The best way to avoid a conflict is spot the signs of conflict early on and face it head on. Be proactive. When the problems are left to linger, people will feel worked up and resentful, making it harder for resolution. So if the team has to work together, if the team has to move forward, you have to spot signs of conflict early and resolve. Know how to spot them. Working to resolve conflicts before they worsen is important, we have understood. We know we should handle before it gets out of hand. And we know it is easier to handle if it is attempted earlier. And we know we have to work towards avoiding the causes or the reasons that cause a conflict. So how do we spot a conflict? We can spot a conflict by keeping the relationships within the team, by picking up the cues, by having informal communications, by looking at things that are different, by looking at variations and deviations in everybody's behavior, by looking at why there are defects and deviations. That is a way to spot the conflict. But most importantly, if you don't know what is happening, or if you don't care what is happening, or if you can't solve a problem, then there is no point in you being there. It is time you pack up and leave the place. So if you fail to address a problem, your team believes either you don't know, or you don't care, or you can't solve. If you are a leader, if you are a manager, you need to show that you care. You need to show that you can solve the problem. You need to show that you know what's happening, you have spot the signs, you have identified, and you want to resolve. Only then you can remain a trusted leader or a manager. What are the common signs? The common signs, as we discussed earlier, are the delays. This is how you spot a conflict. The defects, the deviations. People come late, people deliver the results late, the production or the service or the performances are not up to mark. There are very many deviations in what has been instructed, or the guidelines are not being followed, or the policy is being breached, or the methods are wrong, or the process is SOP is not adhered to. All these are signs of common conflict. Unwanted, unexpected, unplanned request for changes. Maybe asking for leave, maybe a casual leave, maybe planning for a vacation, maybe planning a training. Anything that is unplanned and unscheduled. An unscheduled breakdown of a machinery or a plant or an equipment is also a sign of conflict somewhere. Formality picks up over informal or casual communication. And tardiness, these are signs of conflict. Abnormal behavior of a person or a process or a plant or anything, team, or a procedure or a method or a client or a counterparty or a competitor. All these are signs of conflict. The what and why. There is an important quote from the book Getting to Yes. How to make somebody say yes is what discussed in that whole book. It says, your possession is something you have decided. You have decided your possession, what stand you are taking. Your interests are what caused you to so decide. What you want to achieve, what your goals are, what you are interested in, that is what made you decide in this fashion. Now you have decided on something, somebody else has decided on something else, there is a conflict. So what has happened or what people decided to do is necessary to discuss. We need to know, we need to talk what happened, we need to talk why people did this, we need to understand where they came from. But more important than that, The position is decided and your personal interests have caused this decision. So we need to also see why someone decided to do these things. This is as important. What people decided to do is important, but why people decided to do so is also important. Why somebody thought this presentation, this video, this something has to be trashed out and something else has to be listened to. The why. What people did is to choose something else, but we also need to see why. Only then, as a company, you will be able to win back your customer. As a competitor, you will know why your competitor is better than you. So what has happened, what people did is important, but why someone did so, why someone decided so, why someone chose this particular course of action, that is more important, because the why is the root cause of the what. Why is the root cause of the what. What options did you consider? Why you chose this? Why you did not choose the others? And what will you do next? And now that we have a conflict, how do you plan to resolve? Will you go back? Is it a U-turn? Is it a change? How did you try to resolve the roadblock? And what you expected your actions to result in? Do you want this problem to happen? Do you think this would have been, this would not happen? Did you think we will reach the goal better by doing this? So these are the things that we need to find out in case of conflict. Only then, once we know the why, we will know about more information about the what and to change it. So we have to ask the right questions to resolve. What are the right questions? You need to be open. Ask open questions. Don't prompt them to give an answer. Don't prompt them to a particular decision. Be open. Listen. Ask. Be smart. And get to the core of the issue. Let them do the talking when you are trying to resolve a conflict between two persons. You don't talk too much. How do you phrase your questions matters, because that will decide what answer will come out and what solution will you get to. Avoid placing fault. Stop the blame game. Emphasize that people should share their own perspective and not speak for others. Don't say what others think, what others feel, what others might be interested in. Say what you want, why you did so. Push people to think beyond their action. They have done something and we have reached a conflict. Now we also know why they did it. But ask them, after you did this and we have reached this and this is a conflict, ask them how we are going to reach our goals. What is happening to our objectives? Where are our ambitions? This could be between husband and wife. This could be between a client. This could be between the team. This could be with anybody, the conflict resolution. Give them space to share their perspective and concerns. Hear them out. Ask the whys and whats on the way forward for resolution. Be objective. What is being objective? Allowing the multiple options. Understanding that people get emotional. People have feelings and those feelings make their words and actions in a particular direction. Be professional in your approach. Be clinical. Be technical. We are here to resolve this problem. We are here to ensure our goals are met. Keep the emotions under control of the parties who are having the conflict as well as the party who is trying to resolve, the arbitrator. Every time we have an argument, get back to the objective points of discussion to make the resolution as the main priority of the discussion. What are the goals? How is the end result affected because of this conflict and how the goals are not being reached? What are the deviations from the expected outcome and what corrective actions need to be taken to bring it back to the path? Everyone would like to get on with their work. Nobody wants to have the conflict and the discussion linger on forever. The conflict resolution should not linger longer than the conflict itself. Look at the precedents. Document the discussions. Refer to the policies. Change the procedures. Emphasize what is positive. Counter their concerns. But don't talk on their back. Don't let them down. Don't play the blame game. Look at what is to be done now, not what happened already. Emotional intelligence is very important for solving the conflicts. Why? Emotional intelligence is ability to understand, interpret, monitor, control your emotions, your feelings, and understand and appreciate the emotions and feelings of the party to whom you are interacting with without provoking them, and communicate with them. This is your emotion, this is your feeling, that is what I understand or I observe. So this is emotional intelligence. So the ability to read and understand your emotions, technically a mind reading maybe we can say, emotions of others, getting the pulse, being empathetic. This will eliminate the frustration and anger, and this will help us focus on compromising. So without provoking, we will be able to get things done. This is where the emotional intelligence helps us. What is positivity? Positivity is positive thinking, possibility thinking, looking at the brownie side, looking at the brighter side, being optimistic. This is positivity. Half-hearted compromise doesn't motivate you to follow through. It will be just like a New Year resolution. We will do it for one day and then forget it. So we should have a right attitude. Not only that arbitrator, the parties to the conflict who are interested in resolution should also have a right attitude. Until and unless that happens, resolving a conflict will become difficult. So everybody should show willingness to compromise or collaborate or cooperate. Only then the coordination effort to resolve the conflict will be successful. So what is to be done? Conflicts are full of roadblocks. Resolution is still more. And you should be willing to overcome each one of them patiently. You should look for brighter sides of the things that you do. You should look for better, easier and well accepted options. Trivial conflicts, if it is so small, just avoid them, ignore them, it will die on their own. But you need an accommodating style. You should accommodate, you should adjust if it are larger conflicts, because the party seems to be care much more about the solution. When the other party is interested in a solution, accommodate, agree to their demands and say, okay, let us proceed, let's go forward, let us forget. You need a competing style. You should dictate the terms, you should push them down, you should put them down. When that should be done? When time is limited and a decision has to be taken and you are on the authoritative side and you simply need to get things done. At that time you can use a competing style. Now sometimes different portions of the conflict or different phases of the conflict or different stages of the conflict, you will require different styles. Maybe accommodating, maybe ignoring, maybe competing, etc. So, because it is essential to come to an agreement, because we need a resolution, we have to let go of our pride. We have to get the grip on the argument and we have to look at the brighter side of the resolution. Positivity is what brings in results. Now comes impartiality. What is impartiality? You should not take sides. When a husband and a wife is fighting and you are trying to arbitrate among them, if you take sides, you will take them to divorce. When a manager and a teammate is fighting, and if you are another teammate and if you take sides, the next day either the manager will fire you or the teammate will lose trust in you. So you should not take sides. Be impartial. Be impartial means what? Be it racial, be it cultural, be it gender, be it... There could be different ways in which people color a situation. So be impartial. Accept diversity. Be impartial. Don't talk behind people's back. Stay focused solely on the conflict. Look at the technical, clinical side of it. Be professional in your approach. The initial spark that ignites and causes a tension and causes a conflict is built up between two parties for some unknown reasons which they don't even remember. If you take side, they will become one team and you will be on the other side. It can't be resolved unless the historical bias exists. Until and unless that historical bias is removed, you cannot resolve the problem many times. Separate the conflict from the people. Look at the problem. Probably you can't solve the personal issues, but at a professional side, at an office, in an organization, between the team, between the client and the company, you need to resolve and get forward, because that is what you are there for. The organization has to move forward. So honesty with one another, being sincere in trying to resolve, keeping whatever discussion happen within the four walls is all part of impartiality. The conflict is not personal, it is always professional, remember that. Next important thing that you need is patience. People are talking about feelings and emotions. Problem may not be solved right away. You may require multiple meetings. People will be arguing and fighting and pouring out. People will be crying. All this has to happen. People don't like to be wrong. They will often hold or always hold to their stand. People seldom are willing to leave their ground. Take time. Listen to every participant. Let them tell what happened, let them tell why happened, let them tell what they feel, let them tell what they want to do now, let them tell how we will resolve it. After hearing everybody, after letting everybody voice their concerns, voice their views, let their emotions play out, let their feelings come out, and then after everybody had explained themselves, suggest what are the possible resolutions from among the suggestions that they have given. If it is their own suggested solution, easier and better for them to accept, agree, and go forward. Remain level headed. Think rationally. Find new solutions to new problems in a new ways. So critical thinking, problem solving, all those skills you have to bring out. Don't jump to the defense. Your banter might include a series of no's and yes and but statements that show that you are unable to see another perspective. If you are using ifs and buts, if you are saying yes and no's, that means you are looking at only yourself. You are not looking at the other person. So take this as an opportunity to see things from a different point of view. Don't defend yourself. Look at why the other person said something or did something and why it can be different. You don't have to agree, but you can try to understand where they are coming from. You should not refuse to hear them. If you refuse, it will be impossible to navigate. If you refuse their point of view, there is no going forward in this situation. Your goal is often to get your voice heard, but that is wrong. Your goal should be to hear the other person's voice. Your goal should not be to explain yourself and get every detail of your argument as hard as you could to the other person. No, it's totally wrong. Your goal should be to listen. Only then you will be able to resolve the conflict. Don't keep on defending yourself. Don't keep on saying I. Look at you. Don't say what they did. Ask why you did so and what you want to do next. Don't point fingers. Jumping on the offensive is also disrespectful and creates negative foundation. So don't be defensive and don't jump. Don't be offensive. Don't point fingers. Ensure no one feels unsafe. Allow each person to frame their argument. Don't let them be blamed. Don't shoot them down or shut them down. Let the person explain. Let it be uninterrupted. Don't keep on answering and countering. Avoid misinterpretation. Let them explain their ideas well as much as they could, along with their emotions and feelings and arguments. You are allowed to yell, cry, vent, but at your home. At a problem resolution, a conflict resolution discussion, you are there to listen their point of view, try to find a mid ground and move forward. Be calm, and it should be a debate, not a fight, and it should be aimed at resolution. Use the I and use properly. I feel like I am not getting the chance to explain myself. No, that is not what you should say. You should say, you are not listening to me. Is it so? No, never. The moment you say you are not listening to me, it means you are placing the blame on the other person. The moment you say you are to be blamed, then the person will be upset and you will not be able to discuss further. So what should I say? You should say, I feel I am not getting to explain myself. I feel I am not understanding. I feel I am not getting what you are trying to say. So you say that you have an issue. When you say the blame is on you, there are chances that the other person will be willing to come around. The statements that begin with you clearly come off as a blame. Conflict is not about the person, it is about the situation. It's about what you believe and what you're doing right. The more emotions you have, the more person beliefs you bring in, the more moral ground you take, the more difficult it will become. So separate the problem from everything else. Resolving conflicts. This is the most important thing. Managing conflicts, building the skills, spotting the conflict, seeing the wrong and right way of responding, picking up the cues. Now we have to see how to resolve. Are you willing to ruin the relationship? That's the first question you should ask when you are in conflict. Are you going for a divorce? If yes, then better divorce. Don't waste time in trying to resolve. Or not, then resolve the conflict. Put in all your effort. Everything is at stake. Lighten the mood. Loosen up. Feel more comfortable. Discuss as much as you could. Let the parties speak, vent their feelings, bring out their emotions and feelings. If a conflict emerges or there is something that bothers you about someone else, you should reach out that person and try to see what is wrong. If a conflict is not resolved in 1-2 days, if a conflict is not resolved, then it's a pain to resolve it further, be it between two persons or between two entities. Resolve it immediately. Don't delay, because delay is denial and denial is dangerous. Don't let your stubborn attitude and pride deter you from taking a step towards resolution. Make amends. Say sorry, even if the other person is wrong, because you value the relationship more than being right. Put aside the personal annoyances. Forgive the person. Forget what happened. go forward. Recognize that even if you have a strong opinion on one end of the spectrum and the other person remains at the other end, come to a common ground because you mean business. You are here to negotiate, you are here to persuade, but you are here to resolve the conflict and move forward, come what may. Look at your body languages. Don't do something with your face and eyes and lips and body and hands and legs and say something else with your lips. Look at your body languages. At the same time, look at the body language of the other person. Is what he say and what he does matching? Understand? People get defensive or upset or refuse to budge in an argument because they cling to their viewpoint. So agree to their viewpoint and then ask them how their viewpoint will help reaching the goal. Make them come around. Protect their privacy, most important. Build trust. Don't speak outside about what they told you. Show that you care more about coming to a solution than being right. Show that you want to please everybody so that the company will reach their goal. Show that your viewpoint is less important and theirs is more, because ultimately it is as a team that you are going to reach the goal. So how to simplify it? Prioritize resolving conflict. Don't just be right. Show willingness to compromise and collaborate. Know when to apologize and forgive. Focus on the conflict at hand and not the past ones. Remember the importance of the relationship. Pay close attention to verbal and non-verbal communication. Look at the cues. Don't take anything personally, it's always professional. Use humor when appropriate. Don't cut a wrong joke and spoil the game. Thanks for watching this video. Please keep coming back. We will talk more about shoring up your soft skills to make life better. Thank you.